Welcome to the Thunderbolt Composite Squadron post-launch video.
Hello, this is the soil water retention experiment. Here I have the soil sample that has stayed here on the land, and this is the soil sample that was in the capsule that went up together with the balloon. The point of this experiment is to figure out whether space will affect the water retention of soil, as this will affect how the plants will grow in the soil. Now we can see how the samples basically have the same results. Both of them have retained the same amount of water, as I put in 1/8 of a cup of water in each of them, and they both have about the same water that is dripped through.
This is the PLA durability test. As you can see, the one on the left is straighter, and that is also the one on Earth, and then the one on the right is actually warped. The reason for this is because the one on the right went up into space, which probably got a lot closer to the sun and also heated up, and because it's plastic, it melted a little bit. Moving on to the flexibility test, the first thing we noticed is that the space sample actually splintered instead of breaking straight. It also did not have as much resistance as I was pulling it. On the second sample, Earth sample, it actually cracked instead of splintering, and it had way more resistance.
This is the oxidation of metals experiment. As we can see, the one that went to space goes by a lot slower and a lot less intense. But on the other hand, the one that stayed on Earth goes by a lot faster, despite the video being longer, and a lot more intense, which we'll see in the images coming up. The point of this experiment was to see how different metals would react to oxidation after being exposed to the elements of space. As you can see, after 12 hours, it got a lot more darker, while after 24 hours, as we can see, the one on Earth has gotten a lot more affected by the chemical.
Our experiment was to test the effects on space on fabric. This experiment was conducted to hypothesize whether this material would be good for astronauts and which type of clothing can be durable to make astronaut spacesuits to protect them from the radiation of the sun. So we had one control sample, which was one held on Earth, and one that was sent in the capsule to space. The one on Earth is a clean plain black color, while the one on space had more lint attachments. We measured the weight before and after the experiment, and both of them did not have significant change. Both of them weighed 7 grams in the experiment. There was also no durability or stretch differences, as they both feel and are the same texture.
So for the moist sponge experiment, we wanted to test how the human tissue will react to various pressures and temperatures, and we used the moist sponge to replicate that. It was way drier than what we sent up, and when it came back, on the outside at least, there was no traces of that water, and some of the pores squished together to open up some other pores, which is clearly visible in this picture right here. And the weight of the sponge stayed approximately 15 grams. Just makes us think that that water either probably went all the way to the inside, maybe got squished into one spot, or it just was glued together, the sponge, or some sort of gel. That's what maybe put these pores together.
My name is Cadet Staff Sergeant Gupta, and I was assigned to test the biological effect on yeast in space and to check its changes on its biological properties. The first sample here is the sample that was kept here on Earth, and as you can see, there are many alive cells, or the cells that got stained, that were able to absorb the blue staining. The second sample here is the sample that was sent into space, and as you can see, there are a lot more non-stained cells, or dead cells, than the sample on Earth, as they were not able to absorb the blue staining. This means that the biological samples sent into space can have an effect on growth and reproduction, as some cells will remain inactive during the reproduction process.
The money we could win from the competition could be used for different squadron activities and educational materials. We could use the money towards cadet scholarships for encampments and summer activities, or use it for funds going towards orientation rides. The money can also be spent on aerospace materials such as drones to educate cadets.